welcome to the show. I'm super excited to kick this off. I've got a very, very special friend of mine joining, Miss Jada Star. So happy to have you on the show. This is kind of one of the first episodes, which, of course, I wanted to pick you because we have had so many great conversations. You're a great conversationalist, I do have to say. But before we get into anything, we need to talk about how we know each other, because I think it's a very unique experience about a year and a half ago that we had. I don't want to explain it. I'd love for you to explain it and where that all started.
That sounds great. A year and a half ago, you and I and about 10 other human beings moved into a house together for a month.
Yeah.
And we didn't know each other. And we were all on the show Claim to Fame, hosted by the Jonas Brothers. It was fabulous. It was weird. It was strange. It was wonderful. Best thing I ever did. It was the scariest thing I ever did. And I made the best friends.
That was nerve-wracking, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I think that was both my first and your first experience on like big screen.
Yep. And away from kids and spouse, and away from it was wild. Like, it was a lot of firsts for me, for sure. And for you as well. I think that we saw that in each other, though. I think I knew immediately that you were a parent. Like, I just knew in my heart you were a parent. And I knew you had somebody at home. Like, I felt that. And I was like, okay, I kind of feel like I already know this person.
Yeah, which scared me because you looked at me and you're like, I think I know you. I know you. Well, so first off, to let the listeners in on what this show's about is there's 12 people in the house. You come together, you live with each other for several weeks, and everybody's related to a celebrity in one way or another. And you're supposed to hide your identity. You're supposed to figure out each other's identity. And it's kind of like Survivor with a bunch of celebrity relatives. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I think someone's called it Nepo Baby Survivor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have that label, but you know what? We're going to break that down here. So
we are. Like, it was so much fun, and like, it was the best group of people. It really, really was. I'm really proud that we did that.
I am too. Pat on our backs for that.
Yeah.
Obviously related to the Miss Dolly Parton, the most amazing woman in the world, has had an incredible career. Now, kind of give us a breakdown of your relation to her and your upbringing and everything in between.
Absolutely. So my Aunt Dolly is the fourth of 12 children who were born to Lee and Adelaide Parton. Now, my mother is the 11th or 10th, depending on her and her twin brother. They used to argue about whichever one came first, out of the 12. So my mother and Dolly are sisters, and Dolly is my aunt. Awesome. So I was also the first daughter born to a sister, which was kind of like a fun little Southern thrill for everybody. That was lots of fun. And we just have such a big family, and it's so loving, and it's really supportive.
So you have, how many cousins do you have? Like, how big is this family?
So out of my aunts and uncles, I've got probably 15 first cousins. And then we all have gotten older. We've had our own children. Some of them have had children now. So we've got a huge, big bunch of us. But the children that were of that 12, their children, like, we all also grew up like siblings in a way, because we all were always together. We were always doing family stuff. This was a long time ago, before, the world interferes with everything. But all through my childhood up until maybe my early teens, we were always together, all of us.
And you're doing like
cousins, yeah,
like not family reunions, but you're always getting together on the evenings, or what? I mean, what did that look like?
Yeah,
you get together for dinners or what?
It was stuff like that. It was like, it's living in East Tennessee, which is Appalachia, for a lot of people, and it's those old mountain ways that kind of stuck around. It's the doors always open to friends and family. If you're going to make a bunch of food, make sure you make enough for a few extra servings, because someone's going to come by. It's that kind of vibe. It was just kind of, my grandparents' house was always kind of an open house for everybody. So my mother worked a lot. She was also a singer-songwriter. and she was gone a lot. And so my grandparents helped raise me. I was at their house all the time. So I got the good fortune of being able to experience a lot of family coming in and out.
Yeah, and so I mean, you're surrounded by music your entire life, right? And
Yeah.
do most of the family, do they perform, or do they do a mix of different careers, or what does that look like?
Yes. So there's three main careers in the Parton Owens family, which is my two grandparents. My grandmother was the Owens, my grandfather's the Parton. The Owenses were more musical, and they were either were musicians and or they were preachers. They were traveling preachers and teachers. And my grandfather's side of the family, the Partons, were into farming and construction and working with their hands and had this crazy amazing work ethic. Both sides here. So it's one of the two. Basically, you're either performing and serving people in that way, or being a reverend or something like that, or you're building things and helping with infrastructure and food and things. So
Yeah.
that's just, yeah, what everybody does. It's one or the other.
But
And it's kind of split pretty well.
from what I've seen, though, you kind of got that musical talent, right? Because
You've never seen me build a table, Chris. I'm really
well,
good
I
at
could
building.
imagine you could build a beautiful, beautiful table, but I will not force you to do that. But from what I've heard and seen, you have an exceptional voice and you're incredibly talented. And we actually got to jam together in Atlanta for a little bit. And so seeing
That was
that
so fun. I was going to say right back at you, babe.
was so fun. Yeah, I know. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I feel like we have a lot in common of growing up in musical families. And so it's fun to
Sure.
see those
That's what
similarities.
everyone did. I grew up in church and around music, either together or separately. It was all interchangeable. There was
Likewise.
always people singing. There were always older songs being shared and new songs being shared.
So have you ever written with Dolly? Like, has Dolly influenced you or kind of collaborated on music and any of your career?
She's honestly my biggest influence, I think, because this is something we definitely have in common too. You know the person and the people as your family members and people that you're very close to on that level, but you also can be a fan of them and the things that they do and earn that, like, you give them they just get that respect. It's amazing. I fell in love with her as a writer when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I listened to the song Bargain Store, and for some reason I became super hyper aware of the meaning and the metaphor of the song, and that's when I became a fan of her. And so she's inspired me more than anything. Next to that would be my mother, who's also a songwriter. And next to that would be my grandmother, Avalee, who was less of a songwriter, more of a storyteller. So, and a singer. She carried songs that she had been taught from, her grandparents, great great grandparents, who knows? So that's just always been in my blood.
So that was at what age were you kind of realizing, that this
I
was in your blood?
I always have had a hard time expressing my own feelings. And so I was very keenly aware of other people's feelings. And just a very sensitive little person. And I was very quiet a lot as a child. I kind of like to stay off to the side. I like to watch things. And I wrote all the time. I read and I wrote. That's all I did. But I wrote poems only forever and ever. I Poetry is my first love, always. My mother is the one that taught me how to play three chords when I was about 13 or 14. And she goes, okay, now you got to put those to music. That's kind of what we do around here.
And was that
But
nerve-wracking for
yeah,
you though, to like get vulnerable? And because I don't know about you, but I have like notebooks full of
yep,
lyrics and different chord progressions that never see the light of day.
absolutely. I never thought anyone would ever hear. If you met me 10 years ago, you would not know me at all because I'm a completely different person in a lot of ways. I never anticipated my music would be heard by anybody other than me and the people that I loved enough to write songs about.
And why was that? Were you just kind of nervous or scared to get vulnerable, or was it the lyrics you were writing? Were they very emotional or tied to how you were feeling in that time?
Always. I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, I pulled this thing out of my brain. I kind of couldn't control it. And I'm scared you might not like it. It's okay if you don't like it, but what does that mean about me? I was very insecure. I was very immature for a long time, like we all are. And we're so hard on ourselves. Um, and then it just I started to realize what songs meant to me from other artists, and that I would read a lot of articles about songwriters. I'm always learning more about that. Learning that a lot of songs that I love are songs that the writer didn't necessarily care for
Hmm.
at first or at all. But the song wasn't for them, it was for the listeners. And I started to kind of look at it that way. So I tried to get out of my own head with my insecurities and realize I just really like to write. Some people have a really hard time expressing how they feel out loud. And I think that's what your job as a songwriter is to help people find those feelings, and that way they can hear them out loud
Yeah.
and feel okay.
And you know what? I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. I mean, I've released music, as you know, and every time I press that button to go to the world, it's a little, it's daunting. It's scary for sure, even to this
It
day. And
is.
I'm 33, and it's like I should be controlling my emotions and feelings, but I don't think we ever really fully figure it out in life. But I'm wondering, like, so how did you break that barrier then? Because you said it happened, what, 10 years ago, right?
I'd say, yeah, about 10 years ago. It was my aunt that did that. So I started out, I went to college, I went to school, I did all these things pursuing, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I wanted to work in clinics or in prisons. I wanted to help people that people thought couldn't be helped, or at least try to understand things. And that was my passion, was always helping people in some way. That's what I wanted to do. And I had gotten my associate's degree. I went off and had my son, who's wonderful. I raised him for 2 years, was a stay-at-home mom. And then I was like, I think I'm going to go back to school now and finish this education. And as I was about to start that, my aunt reached out and said, there is a position for a person in the family show at the park that I am directing and writing, and I'd like you to be part of it. Would you like to see about it? And I said, I don't know if I'm the right person for it. I've never done anything like that. I had done, I had this other secret life in high school as like a show choir kid and being an all state. I loved singing. I loved being part of the group and learning stuff. But then I just sort of put that away and pursued other stuff. So she had heard about all that and said, well, why don't you just try it out for me? And you can't say no to her, of course. Like, why would you? Because, you know, there's a reason she's asking you, because she feels like it might be a really good thing for you. And so I went ahead and did it. I was terrified. My first couple of years, I was just completely terrified every minute. But I realized I was talking about the people I love the most to a big audience of strangers 4 times a day, and they were returning that love. And it was wonderful. And we were helping people feel like they belong in a family when maybe they don't have one, or they feel alone. And it dawned on me that I was still getting to do what I'd always wanted to do.
That's cool.
And that's how I got started doing this.
But I mean, to have Dolly say that to you, that she's giving you a chance like that,
Right.
is probably I would imagine it's a pinnacle moment in your life, right?
It was real super, super duper scary, because she is so supportive of everybody. And we have a big family. She doesn't play favorites. She loves everybody the same. My grandmother loved everybody the same. That's how you do it. That's how a big family works. And so none of us ever would try to, you know, say, give me this, or I'm entitled to anything, you know, from her. And to have her reach out and do that, this meant the whole wide world. And when she does that, it's because she feels like, it's because she sees something in you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to let her down.
For sure. I mean, she is the icon. She is the queen. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's everything that everybody thinks she is.
Well, and she
truly
can
is
do
that good
everything.
person.
She just did a rock album. I'm like, are you kidding me? And she
She did a
crushed
rock
it.
album. so that she wouldn't be a liar. She felt so bad that they gave her that honor. She was so grateful for it. Don't get me wrong on that at all. She was so grateful. But she tried to tell them, hey, I'm not a rock and roll star. You can give that to someone else. And they gave it to her anyway. And she was like, well, shoot, now I have to make a rock and roll album.
And she's
so wholesome and adorable. Like, I love that so much.
She seems so genuine and nice. And something that I've noticed about her, I haven't had the opportunity to meet her, but I hope to soon. Now that I know somebody, right, that's related to her. But she doesn't seem to put up a front at any given point in time. Like, she is always the same person. She's genuinely Dolly. And I appreciate that about her.
Absolutely right.
Because I could imagine just seeing celebrity lifestyle and being close to it. Sometimes people can have a bit of a stage presence, and then off stage very different.
Oh, yeah. And I think, though, it goes back to the way she was brought up. It goes back to everything's rooted in honesty and being 100% yourself, realizing that, you know, my grandmother used to say, whenever you talk about people that were behaving badly or whatever, she'd say, don't worry about it. Their sins will be shouted from the rooftops. It just meant that you can't hide things about yourself. People are going to figure it out eventually. You might as well just be yourself all the time. And that's how my grandmother raised her kids. And that's how Dolly is. And that's what people see in her. And I hope that she encourages other people to be that way too.
Well, she's got so much confidence with it too. She's always genuinely been herself. So from my understanding, there's a new album coming out that you're doing with Dolly. Can you tell us a little bit about that without spoiling everything? I would just love to hear.
Of course. I would love to tell you guys. It's been so much fun. A couple years ago, Dolly developed this idea with my cousin Richie Owens to create a family album. It's her 50th studio album. Wow. It's amazing. I couldn't believe that. I found that out the other day and I was like, are you serious? And it's her. She's singing with different musical members of our family, different cousins, brothers, sisters, things like that. And she's kind of telling the story to all of you guys listening of where she comes from, of where we're going and where we're headed. There's new songs. There's some people singing some of her songs. There's some songs that are very, very old that have been in our family forever. I wrote a song for it just for my family. A few people did. And it's on top of that, she joined all of us on our tracks. And that's been the greatest honor of my life so far to date. Wow. Is that I got to write a song about our family, present it to her and see if she liked it, and to have her sing on it with me. And it means everything. And she's done that for so many songs. It's like a 2-3 disc set. There's over 20 songs on it.
Wow. And these songs have been written over the course of many, many years, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's been in the works for a long time.
Yeah. It's like looking at a musical family tree. You know, there's tracks on there from members of our family that have been gone for decades. Things that people haven't heard for so long that they were able to clean up so that you can get a taste of what influenced her and what influences all of us.
So it's going to go, it'll be released when? What's the date?
So the date of release is November 15th. And they're going to start the pre-orders next Friday. I believe that's July 27th, correct?
Okay.
So. This Friday.
Okay.
This Friday. The 27th. So that's when they open up the pre-release. It's going to be wonderful. The pre-orders anyway. I'm very fortunate. My song, The Orchard, was chosen as the first single. It's available right now. You guys can find that at all streaming platforms and iTunes and whatnot. So you can get a taste of what's coming. But you guys have no idea. There's so much more coming. It's going to be great.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay, so the name of the album is?
It's Dolly Parton and Family's Smoky Mountain DNA. She's so proud and excited to share that with everybody.
Well, I'm excited to hear it. So I also want to kind of get into your career too, kind of segueing into that, because you just went to the UK and did a little tour out there. I'd love to hear about your experience and how your music resonated out there?
It was, it's been an incredible experience. I remember being a little girl and falling in love with the UK because one of my favorite things to watch was I had a little cassette tape of Dolly live in London from the 80s where she goes, and it's a little kind of mini documentary where she gets off the bus and the plane, and it looks so amazing and so much fun, and her concert is so amazing and the fans are so great. So I had that in my head my whole life. And then last August, I was very fortunate where my cousin Rebecca and myself both, our cousin Richie was invited to play at the Crop Ready Music Festival over there with the Fairport Convention. And so we were allowed to come along with him. He asked us to come and said, hey, why don't you guys sing backup for me? And you can sing a couple of your original songs. So we got to do that. And it was amazing. I'd never been overseas. I'd been overseas on a boat once, but I'd never been, that long of a plane trip to the UK, and changed my whole life. It was amazing. I met the most amazing people. I got to know kind of the folk scene over there and started to get inspired in a different way. And more than anything, it felt like I wasn't away from home, right? On my first visit, and that was in August. I got to go back a few weeks ago where I played the Maverick Music Festival, which is an amazing Americana festival. And I got to play at Glastonberry. I was invited to play on the acoustic stage at the Glastonberry Festival. Huge,
so
crazy
amazing.
honors. And again, I'm finding this community of people over there, these musicians, these music lovers that make me feel so welcome and make me feel so inspired to write more things, because I've said that the further out I've been going, the smaller the world feels. And I've been researching our ancestry. Our whole family has been, seeing where we come from, where these songs come from, where our music heart comes from. And it is from the UK. It's from Wales and Scotland and Great Britain. And when
Which
I
we're
go
probably
over there,
related, Jada, because I've got a lot of Welsh and Scottish.
Seriously?
The Osmonds are Welsh. I mean, and they're known for singing. Oh yeah.
Shumai, like
Yeah, we might need to take a
Welsh
trip over
phrases.
there and see if we got some relation going on.
Not kidding. Like, nowhere to lie, right? Like, that's very true. It's insane how close we are. And when I went over there this last time, one of the most magical things I did was I was invited to join a group of people that join every single week, once a week, for almost 60 years, called the Backup Heights Folk Club. It's in Sheffield, England, around Leeds. And they are all very much older people. They've been doing this. They've all been friends for so long. And every week they meet and they sing old folk songs together in a circle. They go in a round. They share poems that they've written or one that they found. They have a theme. It's just this beautiful place where they share these things and keep these traditions going. And I was invited to get to come be there and sing a few songs and join the circle. I cried so much that I almost couldn't breathe at one point, because the moment they started to sing and share their stories, I heard my grandparents' voices coming out of them.
Wow.
I heard my family, aunts, uncles, great grandparents that were gone. I heard them, and I felt that connection in my blood and my bones. And it just kind of made me aware that that's something I want to pursue and learn more about, those songs and those stories, and write more songs and stories and just go share them with people.
That's very special. It's a very special moment. I think you and I might need to do a tour over there together.
I would love to hear you say that again.
We need to get out there. It would be so fun. So does Dolly have, and forgive me for not knowing, but does Dolly have a big following out there in the UK?
Oh my goodness. So this is what's cool about Glastonbury, because we didn't know this. These are the things that Dolly calls God winks. Okay. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You get a God wink from So I got the call that I was asked to join the acoustic stage at Glastonbury. Couldn't believe it. Had no idea it was coming. Almost hyperventilated. And then realized a week later she played Glastonbury on the big stage exactly 10 years ago.
No way.
So that was wild. I went back and looked at all that, talked to her about it as well. Glastonbury for her really gave her so much energy and so much love, because she said she was nervous at first 10 years ago when they asked her to do it, because she said she thought, well, this is a big music festival. These kids are having fun and drinking, and they don't want to hear some country artist up here singing. It was the exact opposite. And she stepped out, and the whole crowd, they don't care about country or rock and roll or anything else. They're there for music and to love it together. And when she came out, she saw all these young, old faces, everyone from all walks of life. Everyone knew all the words to all her songs. And that meant the whole world to her. Yeah. And she told me that was a really special moment for her, because she loves all her audiences. There's no favorite. But she said England always feels like home.
And you know,
and she was right. It does.
That's interesting, because my dad says the same thing. I mean,
yeah.
When he goes over there, the crowds are, I can't even put a finger on it. They are just, and they're not wild, but they're just so loyal.
Yes.
Very loyal people.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you on that. They want to hear the stories too. They want to hear why you wrote it, why you did it, all the different ways you might want to sing it. Like, they just want to get into that music.
Yeah, most of my fan base, which is very small compared to my dad or Dolly or even you, is is out there in the UK, because they almost treat us like family. And I'm sure you felt that same way when you're saying you're getting all emotional over there.
Yeah,
you immediately are part of some family, which is really, it's really cool to hear that from your side too. Somebody that can share that.
You definitely feel it. It's all in the music. I think that music and food unite people more than anything else. I think even if you don't speak the same language, you can share music and you can share food with a stranger and kind of learn a little more about each other.
That's true.
It's really neat to share music with people, and you hear familiar melodies that you grew up with as a kid. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Music really does connect you on an emotional and deeper level. And food too. Good food. Really good food. All the good food. I need to have good food out there in Tennessee sometime.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, so what's on the horizon for you? What's in the near future?
So I'm super excited. I just a teeny tiny baby tease, but I'm talking with I had another amazing experience over there as well, where I got to go to Strawberry Field in Liverpool one day.
Cool.
Which is an organization that's actually linked to the Salvation Army. It's the Salvation Army, and they help children. They help people that need help in the community. And I got to go have lunch with a woman named Frida Kelly. She's amazing. She was the original fan club president for the Beatles back when she was a teenager.
Awesome.
And she was friends with all of them, and she's grown up with all this. And she is an amazing philanthropist, and she helps Strawberry Fields. So she invited me to lunch. And I got to sit there. I got to meet all of these amazing people that have been helped by the organization. I got to walk through the museum where they explained what it really does. And I was hit with this wave, because I'm very close to the Salvation Army in my hometown or where I grew up in Sevierville, Tennessee. I go and help them with things. Dolly has helped them with things. And she also helps the whole Salvation Army. Anywhere you can help people, we do that. So finding that connection thousands of miles away, these two places that do the same thing, feeling that love there, seeing all the things they did for people, just super overwhelming. So I'm planning something special for them around Christmas time that I'll get to share more about later. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
And then, also I've got a couple of singles that'll be coming out around fall of this year of my own that are kind of new and kind of fun and exciting. So I focus my work over in the UK, but I love everybody that wants to listen to my music, and I'll keep making as much as I can.
Will I get an exclusive preview before it's released?
You always get an exclusive preview, and you
Yes.
owe me
Okay.
a songwriting section.
I do. We'll do it after this. We're gonna schedule it today and figure out when to do
Yes.
this. Hopefully we can have you on again. I think we should have you on again and talk about
Anytime.
the new album that's going to come out with Dolly and you. And there's a lot happening in your life right now. So we do need to have
I
a
would
follow
love
up.
to. There's going to be so much new stuff. You got to let me come back and interview you so
Let's
we
do
can
it.
talk about your music and all of your stuff.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Where can everybody find you? On Instagram, social media, what?
Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram and Facebook under Jada Star Music. Also on TikTok. I'm not as active, but I'm working on it. I'm also using Threads. I'm on X. I don't use that a lot, but you guys can find me through that way. You can also find my website, jadastar.com. And please follow me on Spotify and follow me on iTunes and wherever you want to follow me.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Jada.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll see you.